It's always like your birthday with a package from China. So let's go. Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in. In today's video, we have picked up a package from China, but this is from the Sumo shop. The Sumo shop is selling these, let's say, complete kits with all kinds of different devices in combination with a lot of cool, nice accessories. For example, the crystal case, a soft, let's say, protection case, the hard protection case or the hard case, and then having all of the very nice cabling that we're going to be needing for charging. And they even have like a very nice cool chain or ring thingies when it comes to, let's say, the Sumo shop itself. So in the end, what do we have? It's actually a very interesting kit. So when you're ordering the PS Vita fully unlocked and fully modified, you're getting all kinds of cool stuff. So this is like an all-inclusive deal. So we have the PlayStation Portable, PS Vita, and there are so many older devices that can be modified. There are so many cool things you can do with it. But if you don't want to get into the tinkering, this can be an interesting solution. So also when it comes to the Sumo shop, they are actually, let's say, giving you a very cool presentation with a nice box that they just made themselves. Sometimes you have the original box with it, but they're having the original system completely like refurbished too. And that's one of the things they're doing. In here we're finding even a special, let's say, screen protector or screen protector glass. And yep, like they said on the sticker over here, do not update the system. That is simply to do because if you're going to be updating it, the soft mod on this thing is completely vanished. And you just have an original device. I've picked up the blue one today because blue is my favorite color, but there are all kinds of different versions out there. And yeah, when it comes to the first impression, everything seems to be looking quite nice. And yeah, there's not a lot of things that we can actually complain about. I did notice sometimes they don't replace the joystick. I do wonder why this is. But so far out of the box, this is a very nice pristine condition. And that is one of the things, if you're going to be finding a PS Vita secondhand, most of them are completely like bust up. And that is one of the major problems I've noticed with PlayStation Portables and PS Vita devices. Because they're portable and people just using them as a device, so they're sticking them in all kinds of places, like in bags or just the side pockets, you name it. In here we're finding all of the necessary cabling, like a micro USB, having the 2-pin European connector. Be always like look out for that you're getting the right cable. And in here we're finding the power charger. So let's see, is this the original one? No, this looks like a cheap one. So do wonder if this is going to be good condition. Nevertheless, let's plug everything in and let's charge this thing first. Okay, maybe this sounds kind of weird, but I just wanted to see and test out the power supply. So first of all, the connection, it's okay. So I don't have like a quality feel over here. Okay, let's plug this thing in and let's see if it's going to be charging just using the basic cable that came inside of the box. And it seems to be that it's charging the device itself. So that's great. Let's remove this over here. Here we can just actually see that they're using this adapter for getting the SD card ready to set up. And what you need to take into consideration with these devices, there are different kind of, I don't have any fingernails, so it's very difficult to pull these things out. I can tell you it's a 256 gigabyte. Come on, there we go. So let's see, is this an original? I do wonder if this is a really original SanDisk Ultra. However, it's always better than having non-brand at all. But maybe, oh man, this goes in very, very difficult. But if you're going to be plugging this back in, you can charge everything up from, or load everything up from the SD card itself. All right, so let's power it on and let's see how it is when it comes to the software. But how about the PlayStation Vita Slim model? Is this really a very nice quality product and still worth buying nowadays? Because you do pay a lot of money for it. So with a Sumo shop, you know what you're going to be getting when it comes to the quality, and I mean particularly when you're looking at the casing itself. So with the casing itself is an absolutely great addition. There are some minor things that they should look out for when you're going to be buying or actually like refurbishing these devices. Maybe it's me being nitpicky about it, but you can just see over here that when you're looking at the sticker at the back, that it doesn't really line up. And the other minor flaw I need to point out to them is that when you can see the screen itself or the front glass, it rises up a little bit, and maybe this has to do with the glue underneath. So that's one thing I should fix myself, or at least they should double check always that it has been placed perfectly, but also it will stick to the system itself. But in the end, when you're looking at the PS Vita Slim model, you can just see how overall good condition it is. And finding this in, let's say, in different stores is going to be more challenging, but the details you need to pay a little bit more attention to when it comes to the finish itself, because in the end you do pay a lot of money for this. I will love the way how it looks, and oh yeah, filthy fingerprints on this thing. But in the end, the joysticks, that's one of the things I love to know from them. It's like, why are they not replacing them with something different to make it like the perfect, like, refurbished situation? Besides that, the Slim model, I do love it. I do like it for what it actually is. Why I'm personally a big fan of the 1000 model. This thing is growing on me, I can tell you that. Okay, so the first boot up can somehow be slightly different from mine over here. I already booted it up and checked it out and tested it out. But when booting this thing up, it will automatically boot into the launcher that's going to be needed for getting into the emulators. And in other words, the front end. We have the original PlayStation logo when actually booting up. And now we're seeing over here the Sumo Shop logo. And from this point, it just will load up into the software itself. It says modeled by Sumo. Unfortunately, the battery level is indeed low, so let's plug this thing back in. It will automatically boot into VitaHacks, and with VitaHacks, it will load up all of the games that have been added to the SD card itself. So emulation-wise, I do wonder what you can actually do with it, but let's do a quick overview of, let's say, the menu and how everything works. So being booted up into the system itself, here we're having the first menu. Okay, doesn't have any, let's say, cover. That's a little bit of a downside, but so far everything seems to be looking fine. So when it comes to, let's say, different kind of emulator options, we do have this, but I will show you in a minute how and what. So the game list, of course, is smaller than the previous review I did some time ago, and that has to do with the SD card being, let's say, smaller, or like having less storage space. But there was actually so much cool stuff that we can actually play on this. And the list is absolutely massive when it comes to the library. But there will always be, of course, games that we're going to be missing out. However, if you're pressing the square over here, having the PlayStation Portable. And PlayStation Portable is, of course, an absolutely amazing system with many hidden gems. So we're only having 67 titles on here for now. So that is not a lot, and I know for sure a lot of cool games are missing out. Loading times are quite fast, but do notice that it hiccups a little bit with music. So let's check out. We're having over here some PlayStation 1. Many different games in here, 89 in total. Okay, pressing the square again, getting the N64 games, but N64 will be a hit or miss. So this is not overall perfect emulation. We have 134 games at this moment, with all kinds of different titles. But we're going to be focusing on games like Cruising USA. Pressing it again, having the Super NES. I just love the way how it looks. Over here, the NES, with many different titles. Pressing it again, having the GBA. And most of these systems, it's not something you should pick up on PS Vita for, because there are so many cheap $39, let's say $40, $50 devices from AliExpress that you can buy and do the same thing with. Okay, then with the Game Boy Color version, with over 500 games. And I understand they do this because these games are super small. They're kilobytes. Game Boy Classic. And over here we're having the Sega Mega Drive or Genesis 16-bit era. But it was quite unfortunate that we don't have every single, let's say, system. No 32X, no Sega CD, but only like a handful of good games in my opinion. It is that we do have a lot of games missing out. We can play with cheaper devices. So this is the recently played list. And we're back to the PS Vita. So this is actually when it comes to, let's say, the menu and how it actually works and what you're getting. But another cool thing that we can do is pressing triangle. With triangle, over here you can just see if you're connecting this with the internet, we can download a cover if you have no cover whatsoever. So another thing we can do is kind of cool, is having a different view. So it didn't change out a lot what you can see, but it is more the angle of the covers. We're having bigger covers. This different way they just displaying them. It's kind of cool. It's just the way how you personally want to see it. Out here, everything like the favorites and all the other craziness. But you have just a basic list, and this way you can just so much easier like search for your games. So that's kind of cool. You have all kinds of different ways you can actually like get into the menu and mess around with it. Okay, if you wonder how does it actually work when it comes to, let's say, getting into the menu or whatsoever, so you can press the home button, will exit the Vita X. You can just swipe it away if you want to. We're having the menu in here with all kinds of different, let's say, programs. If you want to tinker yourself, you can actually do that. So in here, you can just find all kinds of cool things. I think most of the thing will be in the launcher itself, but maybe you find something you completely missed with the Vita launcher or the Vita Hex launcher. But you don't need to boot up like this. Sometimes it will even freeze. I've did with my previous model. But besides that, it's very easy to navigate. Just use the launcher and it's going to be just fine. Okay, so one of the things we need to take consideration that the PS Vita 2000 model doesn't come with an OLED panel. However, it does look very nice, and I can just really enjoy myself these games. When it comes to, let's say, the PS Vita in general, I think it's absolutely a great device when it comes to the D-pad and the way how it actually plays. And I think it's so cool to revisit all of these older games. So one of the cool things you can actually do is also playing homebrew games that have been ported, like Sonic Mania. Just going to be clicking, pressing A, and it will automatically boot up the games itself. And the overall, let's say, experience when getting into the Vita games is just great. Okay, so one of the funny thing is when it comes to Sonic Mania Plus Edition for the PS Vita, so this is actually in port. And in other words, this thing has been never released, so what I understand of. The loading times are quite long, so you're not loading this up from like a UMD drive like the PlayStation Portable. So the overall experience for loading times were quite fast normally when having this particular game running. But where it's going to be having limitation is just the power. So the overall experience is absolutely seamlessly when it comes to playing the games itself. But you will see between, let's say, the cutscenes, we do have some loading times because the PS Vita just struggles getting this thing to load up. Not to like in a very bad way, but it's kind of cool. Another thing I love about the PS Vita in general is just the overall audio quality. The front-facing speakers sound absolutely amazing. But let's get into some gaming. Let's skip the cutscene over here. Here we see like a black screen for quite a long time now compared with other devices. But getting into the game, let's go. So it runs perfectly. We do have like some black bars going on the top and the bottom. But just playing this is just so much fun. For me, Sonic Mania is absolutely Sonic 4. The game I was waiting for many, many years. However, if you want to exit the game, you can just actually press the home button over here. You can just shut it down and go back to the Retro Flow Vita Hex games like front end. So one of the things I was quite surprised with the PS Vita, the second model, how actually slim and how lightweight it is. I know there are some grips that I still wanted to check out from AliExpress. I think you can buy them for around like 10-15 euros or dollars. And when you're just looking at it, it's going to be making this thing less slim and make it more comfortable. So however, even if you're going to be loading up now from the SD card over here, I don't know if you can speed it up with different kind of overall, let's say, SD cards. But what's so convenient, you can just bring so many games with you. Woohoo! Woohoo! See me fly! But if you just want to play some PlayStation Portable on the PS Vita, there's absolutely a great device for this. And loading times are so much significant faster when you're comparing this with if you just want to play this particular racing game on your original PlayStation Portable and a UMD drive. And I think this is just one of those extra PS Vita appealing things that you can do with this. Just playing PlayStation Portable, because the library of the PlayStation Portable is absolutely amazing. This is the second game I'm trying to play and I keep crashing and flying. I think next time I'm going to be choosing a fighting game or so, something like that. When it comes to the D-pad, I love the D-pad of the PS Vita. But that is more like personal. I love the clickish D-pad, short travel, and very responsive. And one thing I find absolutely an upgrade, if you're going to be playing PlayStation Portable games on your Vita, the joysticks on the PS Vita are so much better than the PlayStation Portable itself with the slider joystick. I hate those slider joysticks. Never could really get used to it. Ah, yes, come on, here we go. Yes, I can do it. You can do it. Oh. But however, same situation. Shut it off and go back to the retro flow. Yeah. So PlayStation 1 emulation is also great on this device. I would not really buy a PS Vita for PlayStation 1 emulation. And that's a simple reason, because there are just so many devices on China, so let's say marketplace now, that can just play all of these games. And wow, it's a miracle that they finally added the music. Particularly when it comes to like the reiteration music, man. It's such a cool music. I've been enjoying it for many years. The only downside I find with the PS Vita when you're going to be using the A, B and XY buttons, that you're going to be putting your thumb against the right joystick. Dual the form factor, but emulation is perfect, even putting it on the right resolution. And still the D-pad, man, that's absolutely great. So when it comes to emulation of PlayStation 1 Portable or PlayStation 1 on the PS Vita, I can even play this on the PlayStation Portable itself. There are so many ways to play PlayStation 1 now, but it runs absolutely great. So loading into the N64 emulation, we do have widescreen shenanigans and some weight glitching going on, but let's get into the games. So this is one of those games that normally always run fine on most of these devices. The main, let's say, intro is absolutely like stuttering and not like it's supposed to be, but getting into the game, we do have some okay emulation. So it's going to be a hit or miss with this. We do have all of the right controls. We have the joysticks and everything for configuring and also like playing the games. I did notice that the joystick of the PS Vita is very responsive, and I mean like really responsive because of the short travel compared with the original joystick of the N64. Not that it's going to be like a problem in the, let's say, future when playing all kinds of different games, but I really need to get myself into the practice mode, trying to figure out how to move around. Oh man. But you can just see that some of the games on emulation of the N64 runs fine. Another thing I wanted to do is trying another N64 game just to see how that actually works out. We do have this weird overall, let's say, lines in the screen itself sometimes, but getting into the game is kind of weird. But you will see that from the start of that this game seems to be working just fine. Okay, that go back thing was not like it's supposed to be. Well, let's see if this game is actually playable. So the weird thing is like the stuttering was not in the title domain, but you will see and hear it when it comes to the game itself. So I would like say just remove those N64 games, or most of them, from the playlist itself. Yeah. So where this game is playable, but I can't really enjoy it when hearing all of the crackling, annoying sounds. Simply of the slowdowns. And I'm keep like touching the joystick over here, so it's shuffling to different soundtracks. Yeah. Okay, so getting into the Super NES, I've noticed that the loading times are quite long when it comes for loading from the front end to the emulator itself, or it just stopped working at this point. Something wrong, or did it just shut down? Oh no, it's still working. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, there's a strike is running. Yeah, that was kind of weird. You know, and that's one of those tiny flaws you're getting into a device like this. And the same story like with PlayStation 1, I would not really buy this for, let's say, retro emulation, because there are so many different, let's say, solutions out there, particularly when it comes to 8-bit and 60-bit. However, I do love the D-pad of this thing, so playing is going to be a lot of fun. An emulation of the Super NES is just perfect. Do wonders, like what happens? Okay, so let's slide this away. Let's go to the retro flow. This, let's say, process also takes quite a long time. And what you need to take consideration, it also goes back to the PS Vita list, so you need to scroll through the list. You can also make a favorite list if you want to, so it's going to be more convenient and more easier to actually use. But another thing I wanted to check out, so we had this problem with Super NES, okay. So let's grab ourselves an NES game and let's see what's going to be happening in here. We have all kinds of different games that we can actually choose, so let's go for Adventure Island, one of my favorite games to play. And then booting it up, and let's see if we're having the same issue. Do we need to get like messing around with the menu? See, for me this takes way too long. Yeah, so we do have this same situation going on that we need to wait a long time. And I think it has been set to the right resolution, or the aspect ratio at least. Oh, turbo button. Okay. What's kind of cool with this emulator, we can change between different, let's say, filters. Nintendo RGB. Over here, some other one. This is called the anti-saturated final. So it's kind of cool. And emulation is just perfect. So I think it's a great addition to the PS Vita in general. But most of the normal emulators like NES, Super NES, Mega Drive and so will run throughout RetroArch. So you can actually load up RetroArch if you want to and play through there. That's one of those other ways you can go to, and maybe even have some more options. You can just switch more faster throughout the games. So one of the annoying things is every single time I'm booting up a game, you see that we just have a black screen for quite a long time. So the communication between the front end, yeah, it's not that fast. And I found it quite annoying. And the overall experience is not good when it comes to that. But when getting into the game, everything works like a charm. And the same story of the Game Boy Advance applies to the PlayStation 1 and many other retro games. We have so many devices. They have just great overall emulation when it comes to these systems like Game Boy Advance. No weird audio. That's one of the things they completely mess up most of the time with these, let's say, cheap emulation devices from China. No audio delay whatsoever. So far I can see no screen tearing. I can just really enjoy this. Can we get on one of the rings? Can we get an extra life? Can we do it? Oh, almost got hit. We do have the option to get into the RetroArch and making quick loads, quick save, having screenshot done and all the other craziness. And from this point we can also get out of the games and yeah, have some extra features when it comes to the RetroArch backend. So the only thing I'm actually missing with the PS Vita is going to be some MAME. That would be cool to have Neo Geo MAME on this. So out of the box this thing is fully unlocked. So maybe we need to mess around with a little bit more and maybe just use RetroArch when it comes to some game or other, let's say, emulation, because there are so many cool games on there. Okay, so let's boot up some Sega Genesis. And for the people who don't know how you actually play this game, you're going to be punch him in the face and kick him in the dick. That's how it goes with Beefcake and Wolfies. Alright, let's do it. Push him in the face and kick him in the dick. That's the way how you play. Woohoo! Woohoo! Yeah! Oh! But we're getting Beefcake, yeah. But how is it when it comes to gaming on the PS Vita, the Slim model? I must say that I do like this thing. It feels less quality than the original PS Vita, but still from the Sumo shop you have absolutely overall great, let's say, value for your money. Where these things are not cheap at all, that is something you really need to take consideration. However, what you're getting is a refurbished device. They look absolutely great, and out of the box you do get a lot of extra stuff with it. So when it comes to, let's say, cases protection and everything else. However, I don't like the 256 gigabyte image. I really need more space because the PS Vita, but also the PS Portable and the PS One take up a lot of space. So we do have limitations over there. They should upgrade this adapter. Feels a little bit cheap. I've been loading it for a couple of, let's say, hours now, but you can see that the charging time is quite long. Maybe that's to do with the cheap power supply, or to be honest, I couldn't really figure out at this point. Thank you all for watching. Consider subscribing, hit the little bell, and let me know in the comments what do you think of this model, or do you prefer the 1000?